An award-winning author is in town to discuss her newest book, just released in October. It's called Evidence of V, a novel in fragments, facts, and fiction. Here she is, Sheila O'Connor. She joins us this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course. So this is exciting. You just released in October and you have an event here tonight. What can you tell us about the story?
Well, the story Evidence of V is about a 15-year-old dancer in 1935 in Minnesota who is incarcerated for 6 years for an unplanned pregnancy. And it's a story of both this dancer, V, and essentially the thousands of girls that were incarcerated in Minnesota in the early part of the last century.
Wow. So what inspired you to write this story?
Well, I had, my mother was adopted and as it turns out was born at the Minnesota Home School at Sauk Center.
Wow.
And her records, as all the girls' records, had been sealed for 100 years. And we were able to open the records through the court. And upon opening the records, I sort of came upon the discovery of this story about these girls and this very little known Minnesota history, and just delved into probably a decade worth of research of finding out what happened to these girls and why this happened.
Yeah, that's so interesting. It's something, like you said, little known. I had never heard about it before hearing about your book.
Yes, I had not known anything either. And I think in part people know so little because the fact that the records were sealed.
Sure.
And so many girls never told their story afterward.
Right.
So we don't have documents by the girls where they attempted to talk about what had happened to them. Consequently, there are so many people in Minnesota that are descendants of these girls that are only now with the book kind of finding out about the fact that that may be their family story too.
Wow, what an experience. And you have an event tonight where you're discussing it. What can people expect from that?
Oh, yeah, that's at Zenith Bookstore tonight at 7 o'clock, and I will be reading a bit from Evidence of V and talking about my research and some of the little-known history of the Minnesota Home School for Girls in Sauk Center.
Yeah, and anyone can attend that event?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. What are you looking forward to about people getting to know the book and finally getting to read it now that it's out?
Well, I'm excited for this history to be known because the history of what happened to these girls has everything to do with what's happening with girls and women even today.
Sure.
And the conversations between the treatment of girls. And also, I'm really hoping that more of the descendants and the survivors of the school will come forward and that we can make a more public space for their stories and gather their original stories together.
Definitely. And you have one more event that you're also in town for. It's a writer's workshop?
Yes, the North Shore Readers and Writers Festival up in Grand Marais.
Awesome.
I will be speaking at that and teaching a writing course as well.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course, sharing this amazing story. Like she mentioned, she'll be at the Zenith Bookstore tonight at 7 p.m. and then she'll be in Grand Marais on Thursday if you've already registered for that. North Shore Readers and Writers Festival. We'll have all the information on how you can get the book and go to the event on our website.